Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the TCRA CAN TV show for LGBTs. Um, Folks that want to learn something about it, parents, whatever. This show is to help explain um, or answer questions. Now, one thing about the show this month is that we won't have call-ins, and we will have that up some point in time, hopefully by next month. And I have to learn a little bit more about how to do it, but we also can do, um, uh, what is it? Never mind. Anyway, um, Civil Rights Agenda is located at 2129 Northwestern Avenue in Chicago. And their phone number is, where is their phone? Oh, here it is. 773-235-8852. And want to give a big shout out to Jacob Meister and his group that is the ones that are making this show absolutely possible. I am Jackie McKethan, and I am back for, I don't know, I think it's probably about my 10th or 11th year. And I'm so glad to be back. I'm back. So, anyway, I hope that I can give you some news and information and so on. I really missed being away. Um, I did have other things to do. I ran for a couple of offices. Um, I was elected as a committee person for Crete Township committee person. Same thing as a kind of like an alderman or whatever you want to call them. Anyway, so I won that election, but I tried to get nominated as Crete Township trustee. That didn't happen, unfortunately. But I'm not down and I'm not out. I'm not. I don't mind running again and trying a little harder, perhaps. Something didn't go right. Anyway. But this show has been on the air for a long time, and I am very grateful to CAN TV and their entire staff, Sylvia, Omari, so on and so forth, who have really helped make this show what it is. I wish we did have phones because I would love to answer questions. And like I said, hopefully we will have that by next month. But we're just kind of taking baby steps since we've been off the air for, well, it's over a year now. And so we have a lot to talk about, or I have a lot to tell you. And I think most of you are aware of a lot of these things. First and foremost, obviously, is that Joe Biden was elected president. And if you didn't know, then I'm telling you old news, I guess. But he was elected president, and the good part about it is he immediately rescinded a lot of President Trump's actions, executive orders, so on and so forth, with executive orders of his own, making it possible to end discrimination against LGBTQIAs throughout the country, regardless of what the state says. Okay? There's still some states that are very obviously belligerent towards LGBTQIAs, and there is still roughly 60% of the states that refuse to pass protection legislation for LGBTQIAs. And some are going even further and trying to tell their people in their state that they cannot service LGBTQIAs in certain medical situations, which is very, very sad. I have not heard anything about Medicare no longer helping LGBTQIAs. So, one of the things I wanted to tell you about is, and we talked about health a little bit there for a second. The Health and Human Services Department has restored gay transgender health care protection. Okay. This was done, I don't know if this one was done by, I think it was done by executive order from President Biden. But HHS, which is Human Health and Services Department, are going to start investigating complaints of sex discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation, gender identity, etc., etc. Everyone, including LGBTQIA people, should be able to access health care free from discrimination. And that is the reason for the policy. So there will be, at least under this administration, investigations into the lack of services or protections throughout the country. We still don't know if we're going to be able to get a lot of the other states. There's 29 states that prior to the election that did not support, protect, or allow certain things within their states, which is still 60% of our country that still, by their state government, discriminate against LGBTQIAs. It'll be a little harder with President Biden's executive order, and that's going to help. But that is a policy that has been announced by Department of Health and Human Services. Okay. I think you've all heard that at the moment, or recently, the government has said that if you are vaccinated, that you can stop using a mask. I personally still use it on occasions, especially if I'm going into any kind of a grocery store or large store, because despite the news that they keep telling us that the infection rate is going down, the numbers to me indicate they're not going down fast enough, far enough. Okay, we should be able to get to a point where anybody does not need to wear a mask. But we still have those few out there, and if you're one, I hope you change your mind. But there's still those few out there that think that not having a vaccination is a good way to go. And I don't believe that. I think we would all be better off if we would listen to the CDC and wear masks if you haven't had vaccinations, socialized distancing, and most of all, get the vaccine. The odds are you're going to do better. You're not going to get sick. You're not going to die if you take the vaccine. Okay? I don't understand people that seem to think that the vaccine is uh, not a good way to go. Okay, there's people that obviously think that, oh, I can survive anything. We've had quite a few people, over 500,000 people, that have not survived COVID-19. So it's time we quit putting everybody left at risk by not doing what is necessary, not only to protect yourselves, but to protect everybody else. Okay? And that's just a little bit of my opinion, which is up to everyone to either accept or otherwise. Uh, there was a piece in the uh, Sun Times on May 14th, and it's extended civil rights protections to trans people in every walk of life. And again, it goes back to some of the stuff that we already talked about. We are trying, or Washington, D.C., the Democratic Party is trying very, very hard to pass the Equality Act. As of the moment, we have the majority in both the House and the Senate. Whether or not we can get that done is going to be up to some Democratic senators and House members. I have a feeling we have more uh, votes in the House. We've got some Democratic senators that have shown that they would, in fact, uh, cross the aisle. So my appeal to everybody out there is to get in touch with your senator and your House of Representatives, Congress, get a hold of them and ask them to please consider giving everybody in this country the ability to live their lives as they wish, with the exception of criminals, obviously. But there should be no reason why people can't live their lives as they wish, as long as they're not doing anything criminal. And if the other side, mostly Republicans, not all, either just have to accept or ignore. You know, if nobody wants to be my friend, I'm not going to lose sleep overnight about it. Okay, I do have some good news in the fact that I think I've talked on the show before about my situation with my son, who for about 17 years would not speak to me or have any communication with me. And last month, or maybe a little longer, but I think it was last month, he called me out of the clear blue sky, and he has apologized and reconciled. We haven't had a lot of uh, togetherness at this point because it was only a month ago. Plus, I have had other things going on that I needed to take care of. But it only shows that some people can change their minds if, number one, you give them time and room to do so, but number two, if you also, um, and it's relevant to masks, it's relevant to accepting the LGBT community, so on and so forth. Let them get to know you and let them figure out for themselves that we are not bad people. I've been involved in many things. Um, I have the show, of course. I was a Girl Scout leader. I am on the advisory board for Governor State University, where I started a scholarship program. Vice commander of the American Legion Post that I belong to. So it's a matter of getting involved with the public and letting them get to know you is certainly going to help more people understand, come in contact with us, and learn that we're no different than they are. Just they may think we dress funny. I don't. Uh, well, I guess I have dressed funny once in a while. I think it's called Halloween, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, but people need to get to know us, and we need to get out there and show ourselves as best possible so that there is no problems. And the only way we're going to do that is to work with people, okay, and be as friendly as you can towards them. And if they don't accept your uh, desire to have some sort of knowledge about LGBTs, then that's on them, not on us. I remember when I worked at Walmart, and this is after I started going full time, um, and I was already out and about. I was on HRT, so on and so forth, and I remembered that a lot of people came up, and I say more than those that showed any signs of discontent, but more people came up to me and asked if I could explain to them what it's all about. And most of them accepted my explanation. And I always prefaced uh, my answer with a statement that says that I said to them, which was, if you're trying to pull my leg or something, then I have no reason to talk to you. If you're sincere about wanting to understand it, then I'm more than happy to talk about it. The good news is that's why PFLAG is growing by leaps and bounds, because that's for parents of LGBTs, QIAs. And they can spread the word. And it still doesn't mean that there's parents out there that are not willing to accept it, because there's stories in the paper quite often about it. But if you know somebody that, especially if it's an LGBT person that is having trouble with their parents, then my idea simply is to ask them to try to learn something about it. And there's many ways they can learn. They can go to PFLAG, which is parents of LGBTs, and because they commiserate and they talk about stuff and learn stuff in their meetings, which helps. And I've had an opportunity to speak at a couple of the PFLAG organizations in the Chicagoland area, and there are a lot of parents that are willing to learn and willing to pass it on as well. And I'm sure you've seen that on Facebook. I'm on Facebook quite a bit, and I see a lot of it. So we just have to get the word out there that we're not bad people, and we have to explain how and why. Number one, we're not bad. Number two, why we feel the way we do. And I've gone over that several times on our show. Part of the problem is that LGBTs, especially trans folks, don't know a lot of things about what it is to be trans. Somebody will ask them, especially the younger folks, and more younger folks are coming out and letting their parents and others know that they feel that they are uh, gay or transgendered or bi or whatever the case may be. What they don't know is why they're that way. So when they tell their parents and they say, well, I'm transgender and I feel like I'm in the wrong body. Well, how do you know that? Well, I don't. It's a feeling, it's a thought. Okay, but there's got to be something more explanatory than that, especially for those who are really hardcore against our community. As far as transgenders, it is a um, um, neurological situation where in the womb, before the brain is ever activated, uh, the genitalia is formed, and so that's presumably, according to those that want to believe it, actually defines the person. And it's not. Okay? Yes, God makes mistakes. Maybe it's not God. Maybe it's just the way things are. Nobody is exactly the same anyway. But what happens is genitalia is formed, so people think, okay, that's what you're supposed to. What happens is it's 8 to 12 weeks after genitalia is formed that the brain actually turns on, so to speak, or comes on, or whatever the case may be. But it's 8 to 12 weeks after that, the brain actually begins to do its job. And happens is if there are hormones that are in unusual doses, such as testosterone or um, I can't think of the word, but whether it's female or male hormones, okay, if those are introduced to the brain, and there's some other hormones, cortisol and so on and so forth, there's some other hormones that can affect the brain's identity. And guess what, folks? The brain's identity is going to overcome whatever physiological uh, things you may have. Okay? Um, so those are some things we need to be able to tell people is it's not a whim, it's a neurological function. Okay? The brain decides what you are going to feel versus what others are going to see. So somebody sees you differently because they're not aware of this. And if we are aware of it and can explain it, then that's the way to go about it. There are a lot of, I know in the Chicagoland area, there's a group, it's called Outlook, where they actually set up meeting places for um, LGBTQIA youth to go to without their parents or anything, so that they can commiserate amongst themselves and talk and so on and so forth and discuss each other's problems and perhaps there's only one adult there that really says much, if anything at all. There may be a couple of three others that are there as more or less chaperones where, if two of the kids decide they want to go into a room by themselves, it's, oh, you don't go in there unless there's an adult in there with you. So those things are very, very important. So those issues uh, can be corrected simply by number one, we as part of the community learn more about what makes us the way we are and be able to discuss it in a manner in which people understand. Okay? Um, don't get testy about it or anything like that, but all of what we talked about today, in my opinion, quite frankly, shows that there is a lot more people that are um, understanding, um, that are not in the community, but they're understanding and they are accepting. And we just have to keep that going. It's up to us to let them understand rather than yelling or screaming at them about, you know, uh, why we think they're wrong. Because in their minds, it's kind of like, you know, they have been taught this throughout their lives, and they're not. Because a lot of people out there just stubborn to change their opinions and understandings. But it's almost time to close up here. So what I am going to do is I'm going to ask that you tune in. It's going to be same time next month. It's going to be the second Friday, 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. So please tune in. Hopefully, we're going to have some other things available like call-ins, so on and so forth. I can also explain how you can how we can set up a discussion through the computer and talk that way. But I welcome any number of people that want to be guests, that want to say something. I know previously, before now, we had a lot of people call in and make comments and ask questions, which was good. It was good because I think they learned a lot. And they may be watching today. I don't. Um, but we will have that feature very soon. And then we'll have some other features as well. But until next month, uh, I'm not sure what date it is, but the second Friday of next month at 6 o'clock, I will be back. Okay? I am on Facebook. If you want to let me know what you thought of the show, we're just kind of starting over, so give us a chance to get there. Okay? So until then, from us here, we hope to see you next month and hope to have more things. Okay? I'd like your reactions as well. So bye-bye for now, and we'll see you next month, second Friday of the month at 6 o'clock Central Time. Bye-bye.